So yeah, this is us. So the way it started, like they said, I took a few international trips that were very impactful. That helped me decide that I wanted to be involved internationally, and especially in taking care of the earth. In high school, I took a trip to Guatemala. My uncle did work there. He built a daycare, did other trips every year, and so I went down one year and just had a great time. Loved the people there. The boy in this upper left corner, super cute, super fun, family to play with, and just really enjoyed the culture there. I came home from that trip kind of knowing that I wanted to do something internationally if I could, and something to help the people in poverty, experiencing poverty that I met. I also, at the time in high school, worked with same uncle. He did recycling, commercial recycling. So we took soil and asphalt and concrete and all that stuff and recycled it. And so kind of had some experience with recycling. At the time, I didn't know I was going to do anything with recycling, but it's in the end, paid off and been very beneficial to have that. I then got called to Guatemala. So I've kind of been stuck in a trap, just going to Guatemala over and over again. I don't get out and explore many other countries. Just happened to be called to the same place that I'd been before. While there, I had a lot of really impactful experiences. One thing that I saw a lot. This is a picture that I took in Guatemala. So this is a landfill that they use. As you can see at the bottom, it's not contained. So very different than what we have in the US. They have no sanitary or contained landfills. And I've actually been back to this landfill, and you can see the trash is like gone all the way down. So this is a ravine. The wind and rain just pushes it further and further downstream every time. And that's, we'll talk about that later, but that's one way that plastic ends up getting into the ocean a lot of times. So while I was serving in Guatemala, a few really impactful experiences that I had, saw a lot of people struggling from different health concerns and different things that they didn't have the resources to give their kids the medical attention they needed, and they, I saw a lot of people suffering from gang violence and kids going into the gangs because they didn't have any other good option, and it really, really touched me and really helped me have a lot of compassion for people in circumstances a lot worse than what I have, and also, great way to feel grateful about what you have. Just seeing how different people live around the world, and they're still, they still can be very happy, obviously, but it is interesting to see and very eye-opening. So in one of those experiences that I had, one time I was on a bus, and a girl got on the bus. A lot of people sell, I'm sure anybody that's been to other developing countries has probably seen, there's a lot of vendors on buses. There's a lot of kids that come on buses and sell too. And so there's a girl that was like 7, came on the bus. And I don't know why, but for some reason that time I was really touched, and just felt a lot of compassion for her situation. Just couldn't help but thinking that she should be in school and she shouldn't be having to work to survive and feed, help her family. And so I paid her, I bought from her, and then I gave her a tip. And so I paid her a little bit extra. And after that, every time that girl saw me, she always came up to me and hoping that I'd give her a tip again. And I really wanted to do something to help, but I knew that it wasn't sustainable for me to just keep giving, paying her 50 cents instead of 10 cents for a snack every time. And so coming home from that, the mission, I really wanted to find a way to help people in a more sustainable way, and not just, not giving a handout, and also really like improving the standard of living. So that's what the main focus that I had was helping people in poverty. I also, hate seeing things go to waste, and I hate, I love the environment and taking care of the planet. But I didn't get turned on to the idea of doing something for the ocean and protecting the ocean until I took a trip to Fiji. When we were there in Fiji, we built these incinerators for the locals there. So you can see on like the hill, there's some trash. Similar situation to Guatemala, where there's just not the infrastructure. And so they kind of put the waste anywhere and then they burn it. And so we help them build incinerators to more efficiently dispose of their waste. I also saw ocean plastic. That was kind of my first introduction to ocean plastic in Fiji. And so coming home from that, I thought there's got to be a better way to manage waste. Like, we shouldn't just be burning this waste, not only for the air pollution problems, but also it's something of value. Like, there's actual value in plastic if you can just pull that value out of it. So I went to BYU, studied economics and business. There's two programs at BYU that were really beneficial to helping me start this business. I had a desire to start something, but I wouldn't have done anything as soon as I did without these programs. So I had a friend that he had started a venture to grow mushrooms in Africa. And he originally had a plan of going and taking down education materials to Africa. He told me about this program, the Social Venture Academy. He's like, "Oh, it's super easy. You just go pitch. You tell them your business idea, and they'll give you a few $1,000s to like go and like try out your idea." So I went and I applied and I pitched to the Social Venture Academy. And so this is like my first idea that I had back in January of 2019. And so my idea was, we can take chip bags that are very hard to recycle, turn them into something of value like a bracelet, and then go and sell them in like America and in richer countries, and help fund a cleanup operation in these developing countries where they need help. And then same thing with like you can make sandals out of tires and different things like that. That was my idea. I kind of got it wasn't as easy as I was told. It was pretty hard. They give me a lot of good feedback, but I kind of felt a little bit destroyed by the harsh reality of how I hadn't thought it out nearly as well as I should have. And so it wasn't just easy to get a few $1,000s. So I did that. My next idea after that was to do like so this is a precious plastic design to do a mini manufacturing facility out of a shipping container. And so in these countries, you can basically bring down like a whole recycling facility in a shipping container and create value out of products. So that was my next idea. And I worked on those ideas for a long time, trying to like build the machines and trying to validate that this could work and make sure it's feasible. But then, I worked on it for a long time, almost gave up several times, did give up for a few months at a time, and didn't really accomplish much. But then in February of 2021, I took a trip to Hawaii. So me and my friend, we lived in a van for a month in Hawaii. And there, I saw ocean plastic, kind of got turned back on to this idea that I'd had to work on it. And then at the same time, a professor from the school reached out to me to invite me to participate in a competition, and offered some resources from some MBA students to help out on that project. And I wasn't really working on it at the time. I basically like would have given up probably, very likely. But this intervention of being reached out to was kind of perfectly timed. So he reached out, and I worked with a team of MBA students and helped, just kind of flush out some details and pivot to a different model from what I'd been working on before in the past. And from that, just a few months later in June, we actually went down to Guatemala and we launched. And so, the main pivot from the previous idea was to talk to basically sell a plastic offset credit. So we work with companies and we sell very similar to a carbon credit. It's a non-tangible asset that they can purchase to help us fund the cleanup operation that we do. and we give them, they get different certifications and different things from doing that. And then, so from June 2021 to now, we've now collected 200,000 pounds of plastic. We created about 4,000 fair pay work days for people in poverty, and we have different educational programs that we run for our people down there. This whole process really helped strengthen my testimony of just being led and being put in the right place at the right time. There were so many things that happened. If I'd known how hard it was going to be to work through the Ballard Center and get funding through the Social Venture Academy, if I'd known that it was going to be such a hard process, like I don't think I ever would have started. But it was kind of like the carrot on a stick type of thing, where I thought I was so close to getting some funding to go just go down to Guatemala and like test out an idea. And so it kept me going, right? Like kept me moving forward. If I'd known like everything that we had to go through to get to where we are, like I don't know if I would have done it like back in college, but it was, I'm very grateful for those opportunities that I had. So to give a little bit of background on our impact. So we work, we do gig economy style collection. And basically the way that works is anybody in these developing countries, anybody in the community can collect ocean plastic. And we work a lot in rural areas where they're kind of far away from a center base. Like they don't have any place where they can take like scrap to be sold because there is like an informal recycling center like industry in these countries. So we'll go, for example, this family on the right here with the truck. So they work in these fields. They have a herd of cattle that they watch, and on the property where they watch their cattle, there's a informal dump site landfill where trucks will come in from the neighboring city and town and dump just garbage. And while they're watching their cattle, they can go and sort through that when the trucks come, and they'll pull out anything of value. And we go around with the truck, we'll pick it up from them. They'd have to take it very far if they were going to try to take it to a recycling center anywhere else. And so we're able to go pick it up from them. We pay them for it by the pound. And then they're able to, while they're watching the cattle anyways, they can make extra income basically. So super great situation there. Like it's a side income, and that's the thing. We have full-time collectors of plastic. We have part-time. We have very part-time where they just collect their own plastic that they use in their household. They get paid. They get a little bit of side income from what they personally use. We then we do generate about 2 fair pay work days. These are like important metrics for us to track because it's actually a very quantifiable measure of what kind of impact we're having. And so and we also want to make sure that people are getting paid fairly for what they're doing. An important thing in these countries is what you do with the plastic after. So a lot of the a lot of the plastic that goes into the rivers and the ocean actually comes from landfills. So the biggest landfill in Guatemala City, in the capital city, that whole landfill goes into the ravine, and then it goes into the river and into the ocean. So the river that landfill goes into is, by some people, estimated to be the most polluting river in the world, just because the whole landfill is feeding right into the river. And so, yeah, very important that, like, when we collect the plastic, that we make sure it gets recycled. If you don't recycle it, then it very likely could end up back in the ocean. So we also work, our operations have a lot of impact on some of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and we try to keep them monitored and track that well. And then we do educational programs for our workers to focus on improving the standard of living more than just improving their income. And that's something that we've seen is just an increase in income doesn't necessarily mean an increase in standard of living. Like, it is correlated, but a lot of some people can take extra income and use it on not the greatest things, and so we want to help give programs to make sure that the biggest impact possible is happening. So some of the programs that we have, so we have started a little library. We have Harry Potter books that we give out to, like, the families and the workers and people, if people want to use it. Hoping to expand that in the coming years. We have also held some movie nights, and we are trying to bring more recreational activities. They're very hard workers, and we want to make it easy to have fun and play and recreate, right? So a little bit about where we're working. So we are based in Cuyuta, and we work all along this area between these two rivers. So this is the Maria Linda River, and this is the Achaguati River. So we work all in between these two rivers. The Maria Linda River is expected to be the highest polluting river into the ocean out of all of North and South America, on the west side. So into the Pacific Ocean, from the American continent, it's the worst. There's over 2 million pounds of plastic that go into the river, into the ocean every year from this river. And this is a picture of the riverbank. So this is basically the riverbanks get used as a landfill, because when the rain comes, the rain washes into the river. You've got more space to use, and this is it's not something that they're choosing to do. I mean, there's no really ethical good way to dispose of their waste, right? And that's what we're bringing the accessibility to get their waste recycled instead of having to burn it or put it in the river. So yeah, we do all the operations ourselves, and there's a lot of countries that we'd like to go to. It's it's a big need around the world, and we'd love to be able to grow our impact by expanding to other countries. But Guatemala is a great place for us to work right now, and we can actually grow a lot within Guatemala. So I'm focused on that right now. Some really cool, it's really important that we track what we're doing very effectively. So we use a platform called BanQ. It's a supply chain tracking platform, really awesome. Basically, you can see every step of the supply chain, and this works for every input. Lavender, you can see who is the farmer that farmed it, and where did it go, who are the aggregators in between before it got to the factory and turned into its end product. So that's really important for us to do. It also allows us to bring the human element into our cleanup operation more. We can show where the plastic waste was collected, and who collected it. So So when someone supports what we do, either like through us directly, like donating, or through one of our companies that gets like plastic neutral certified, they can see like if they funded the removal of 20,000 pounds of plastic, they can go on and see it was Jose, it was Maria, it was Luis, it was Jose, like all these people, and this is how much the waste that was collected, and they can learn about those people and see what they were able to do and like who they helped. And we think that's a very important part of it. The environmental impact is huge, but the human element also. So this is a little bit of statistics about the plastic waste problem, and a lot of plastic. I mean, it's been talked about a lot. So this is kind of the breakdown. So we focus on something called ocean-bound plastic, and that's what falls in this category. So mismanaged coastal plastic. That's anything that's within 50 kilometers of the ocean, and it's mismanaged. So there's no formal infrastructure to take care of it. And a percentage of that ends up going into the ocean. But all of this mismanaged waste, it's nature bound. It's either going to be burned, or it's going to end up in a pit or in the river and into the ocean. So and this is a little bit of breakdown. I mean, it's a problem everywhere, this mismanaged waste and this ocean-bound plastic. And to break down a little bit the difference between ocean-bound and ocean plastic. So again, ocean-bound plastic is close to the ocean, that's at higher risk of entering the ocean. But not all of it would have ended up in the ocean. So the term ocean-bound plastic can seem a little misleading, because not all of it's actually bound for the ocean. It's just it's at high risk of entering the ocean, right? Ocean plastic is plastic that has been in the ocean or has washed back up on the beach. We collect both types of plastic, but both types of plastic are very environmentally impactful. I think ocean-bound plastic is just as impactful as ocean plastic. But there's a lot of products that are marketed that say they're made out of ocean plastic. Most of the time, this is actually ocean-bound plastic that they're made out of. It's not. It's very hard to collect ocean plastic at scale, but it's something that's growing, and the difference between these terms is going to become more and more prevalent, and you'll probably see it in more and more products as you pay attention. So here's a few myths and facts about ocean plastic and just in general plastic and recycling. There's a lot of things that a lot of phrases that are used that aren't always 100% true, and so I thought it'd be interesting to kind of talk about some of those. So a phrase that's used a lot is all plastic ever created still exists today. And this is theoretically, this could be true because plastic doesn't naturally decompose. It can last for 500 years, which is a big issue, and which makes plastic such a big problem, right? But there's a few things that make this not true. There's chemical recycling, where you can actually turn plastic back into its base chemical components, which means you can turn it into oil, diesel, kerosene, like different products like that. There's a lot of plastic that's burned and incinerated. This is a big issue that we see, and one of the big environmental impacts is from that pollution and that the inhalation of those fumes. There's actually some cool research, and this has actually been known for a long time. Like mealworms will eat plastic and styrofoam and different things there. There's also bacteria, fungus, and different enzymes that will eat plastic also. And in certain situations, these could be good options to mitigate the harmful effects of plastic. So another thing that's said a lot is like recycling is a myth. The gist of this again is like they're onto something, but it's not quite right. So in the US, and this is mostly talking about the US, recycling is very hard in the US. This is because it's single stream recycling. Other countries, they'll do split stream where you separate your waste yourself. You'll do glass, and then you'll do plastic, and you'll do it all separate. That makes it a lot easier. You don't have to have expensive machinery to sort that waste. That's kind of our biggest issue is really expensive to sort the plastic waste. And that's something for us, our collectors, they'll sort the plastic as they collect it. Makes it very easy for us to recycle. And so recycling is very useful for us. Like we do make sure that everything we collect is recycled. And that's, it's a great way to generate income for people. And then a lot of the plastic from that goes into the ocean comes from developing countries, almost all of it. But there is, the caveat with that is the U.S. does send a lot of their plastic to other countries, and if we send it to a developing country, it's very possible that could end up in the ocean. In Guatemala, we see mostly local waste ending up in the ocean, but other countries have that issue. And plastic is very harmful to human health, and it's more and more research is coming out about that all the time, and knowing the overall, like how much plastic and how many microplastics there are in blood and in the lungs of humans and whatnot. It's really prevalent. This is a little example. So what percent of ocean plastic ends up in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? So the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, it's a gyre in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's the largest accumulation of ocean plastic in the world. It's like 117,000 tons of plastic are there. I think I'm quoting that right. But either way, it actually is only 0.0072 to 0.0376%, depending on what estimate you use, of the total amount of plastic that goes into the ocean every year. So it is a large amount of plastic, but it's actually not. It's a pretty small dent in the total amount of plastic. This is the interesting thing about ocean plastic is 99% of it is lost once it goes into the ocean, and that's we can't find it. Like, it's not in these gyres, right? So 99% is missing, and a lot of that, like, part of that's because it'll wash back up on the shore. Some of it could sink. Like, we're still trying to understand that. But basically, it's very expensive to collect plastic from the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And it's not actually that much plastic as a whole. So this is an example of abatement of air pollution. So the way you want to work with air pollution is you want to start with the highest marginal benefit air pollution and the lowest cost first, and then move down this scale to slowly get to like an equilibrium, right? The best place to be. So the same thing with ocean plastic. The highest, we want to focus on collecting plastic and ocean plastic specifically in the areas where it has the highest marginal benefit and the lowest marginal cost to begin with. And for that, we would say that we're in this far right category of focusing on highest benefit. The plastic that we're collecting, huge impact to human health, and it's actually also a lot cheaper than the stuff in the middle of the ocean. So the stuff in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch would be down here somewhere. At some point, like, we definitely want to clean up this legacy plastic waste that's been in the environment for a long time. But same model that we use with air pollution, we should focus on highest benefit, lowest cost first. Here's a little background of the informal waste sector as it exists today. So these are pictures I've taken as we've gone around learning about the problem. So the waste pickers, they work in landfills where they'll pull out anything of value, working with their parents oftentimes. So a lot of child labor is involved. It's very unpredictable, the income, because scrap prices fluctuate so much. There's also a lot of health hazards, tons of plastic being burned, and it's usually very low wages. So we are focused on helping this sector and stopping this child labor and these terrible conditions from happening. So, and that's why we do the gig economy style of plastic collection. These are some of our collectors. So this is Edith. She lives right next to this landfill. So this is an informal dump, and it goes straight into this stream, as you can see here. And then just like 50 yards back is the river. And she is able to, as people are coming to dump their waste, they'll give her anything of value that she can turn in for money and give to us. And so she's able to very efficiently collect plastic and prevent it from going into the stream and ending up in the ocean. And she actually has a crazy story. Her husband fell down this ravine a few years ago and actually died. So very sad, and she's had a hard time providing, making income since then. And so this opportunity has been really awesome. That the landfill that took away her husband is able to provide income for her now. This is another example. This is Ruben. He will collect plastic in this Bay Area where there's a lot of plastic to collect. So he'll take out his little surfboard, foam board thing, and go and collect plastic. He swims across and then transports it back with that foam board. We also, so yeah, this are some of our operations. This is how we fund what we do. We have some of our own merchandise, but we work with brands a lot. The idea is that we can help brands incorporate sustainability into their business very easily, that they can have a huge impact, and you don't have to be a huge company that has a lot of resources to do that. So we do plastic neutral certification, where a company would calculate how much plastic they use in their products, and then they would pay us to collect that much plastic or more, and then we certify them as plastic neutral. And we can also do like a 1 pound promise, where companies will say every time we sell a product, we will remove 1 pound of plastic from the ocean. So these are some of our collectors. We try to connect the human element. So like we give a card with saying who you supported when you purchased from a brand, right? So we work with churches and schools. Great way, it's kind of like a box tops program there. We work in landfills somewhat, and we do focus on making sure there's no child labor involved in that, and supporting and giving scholarships to those people. And then we work with individuals that are just around town. Is the main thing that we focus on, providing them with extra income. And I'd like to end with some of the spiritual and components of this, of taking care of the earth and being good stewards. We believe it's super important to be a steward, and I love that language is used in the scriptures and Doctrine and Covenants so much. So Massimo de Fe, for people of faith, protecting and preserving our planet is not just a matter of survival, it is our home, and we consider it a creation and a gift of God. And I think this really, it's the perspective that we should have as people of faith, that we should care about God's creations more than anybody else, right? We should care because it's something that God created. And it's not good of us to not be appreciative of the gifts from God. And then, but verily I say unto you, I have appointed unto you to be stewards over mine house, even stewards indeed. Again, going back to like being a steward, we've been given. The more you've been given, the more you have to. The more is required, right? And we've been given so much, like a beautiful earth, and that's something that Spencer W. Kimball talks about. In this quote, so he says, there were evenings, those many years ago, at about sunset when I would walk in with the cows. Stopping by a tired old fence post, I would sometimes just stand silently in the metal light and the fragrance of sunflowers and ask myself, if you were going to create a world, what would it be like? Now, with a little thought, the answer seems so natural, just like this one. So on this day, while I stood watching the thunderstorm, I felt and I feel now that this is a marvelous earth on which we find ourselves. I've traveled much in various assignments over the years, and when I pass over the lovely countryside or fly over the vast and beautiful expanses of our globe, I compare these beauties with the many dark and miserable practices of men, and I have the feeling that the good earth can hardly bear a presence upon it. I recall the occasion when Enoch heard the earth mourn, saying, "Woe, woe is me, the mother of earth. I am pain. I'm weary because of the wickedness of my children. When shall I rest and be cleansed from the filthiness which has gone forth out of me?" And in this talk, Spencer W. Kimball, he gives the analogy of the monkey trap, where they cut a hole in a box and give a nut. And when the monkeys come, they grab the nut and they can't let go. They're stuck in the trap because they won't let go of the nut. I think this is oftentimes there's simple things that we can sacrifice to have a big impact on the earth, and taking care of God's creations, as well as taking care of our fellow man. It's can be hard sometimes, but we think that as we're being conscious consumers and paying attention to what we're doing and supporting good causes, it doesn't take that much to have a huge impact. So that is our presentation, and I'll end, bearing my testimony of these things, and we've felt very blessed to be involved in this work, and it's truly a blessing every day to be able to see the beauty of the earth, at the same time contrasted with some of the worst that we have done to the earth. So I bear my testimony in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.